You're upset that the big angry monkey is like, this is my mantra.
Yeah,
What a wonderful day.
yeah. I thought today was gonna be special.
So, what is a wonderful day, Thano?
It's a wonderful day when you're recording with friends.
It is. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful day in the neighborhood, in the
yeah.
lovely neighborhood of unincorporated Aurora.
Unincorporated Aurora, the best Aurora.
The best.
The best. No sidewalks. No
No,
water from the river.
you guys get that well water,
You
don't
have
you?
well water.
Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you everybody for joining us. We're in the Cine-Scoots podcast.
We're in the summer lounge.
Summer Lounge. We get to use Thano's lovely sunroom again.
Yeah.
We are talking about the continuation of, technically speaking, it's not Hot Monkey Summer. It's the
Still spring.
continuation of Hot Monkey Spring.
It's spring.
There's been three monkey movies.
Oh yeah, the Dev Patel monkey
The Dev
movie.
Patel monkey movie.
This monkey movie.
Uh-huh.
What was the other monkey movie?
Godzilla X Kong.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's monkey. Well, I guess it's primarily monkey.
It's monkey.
Primarily monkey. Yeah,
He's in there. There's so many fucking monkeys.
yeah,
He
yeah. It's
uses
a
that
lot
one
of.
monkey like a weapon, which was the funniest fucking thing.
It is a lot of monkey. So it is hot monkey. It is hot monkey
It's Hot
spring.
Monkey Spring.
Yeah,
And to celebrate Hot Monkey Spring, we are here to talk about the latest and it's the greatest,
no, but good,
but it's very,
serviceable.
very good Planet of the Apes movies.
You know what? I just noticed. This is the
Yeah.
first time I'm seeing this cast list. I don't fucking know.
Half of these fucking people?
Yes,
Yeah, the biggest names I think are
Kevin Drummond.
Kevin
Kevin Durant.
Durant,
Kevin Durant. Yeah,
who was just in Abigail.
yeah.
Freya Allen, I would say she's bigger-ish
Yeah.
because she's been in The Witcher.
The Witcher, right?
And maybe William H. Macy for those of you freaks who like Shameless.
Oh, there you go.
He's in Shameless.
There you
I
go.
I do not like that show.
Yeah.
Um,
We've come a far way from Andy Circus, motion capturing everything. That
I
had
mean, if you think about the other movies, like in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you had James
James
Franco,
Franco,
John
John Lithgow.
Lithgow.
Yep.
You had Draco Malfoy
Yeah.
was in
And
there.
that was one of his first post Harry Potter
I
roles.
believe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And then obviously you had Andy Serkis doing the motion capture for the Hot Monkey in that movie.
Right.
Um, in the sequel, you have
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman plays the big bad.
Yep.
You have what's that guy's name?
Jason.
Jason Clark.
Ah,
Jason Clark and Kerry Russell, who play like the main humans. Something McPhee, their son,
yeah.
who's like weird.
And
And
then
then in the follow up to that,
you got Woody.
you got you got Woody Harrelson. For some reason, Woody. You said that, and I was like, wait, Tim Allen's in it? Is it Tim Allen who plays Woody?
Tim
Right,
Allen is the
because
one who plays
Tom
Woody.
Hanks is Buzz.
Tim Allen is the one who plays Woody.
I was so confused for a second there, but
Yeah.
yes. So like the casts have been big,
Yeah.
and for them to just be like, check this shit.
Is this so? This is going to be another trilogy. They laid out.
So apparently the like creative team behind this have come out and was like, we got plans for all the way up to 9. And I was like, whoa,
Well, we lost.
slow down.
Yeah,
Let's see how this does. Which admittedly
did pretty well.
did pretty well.
Right?
Um, non spoiler thoughts. I really like it. I think it's very it is a worthy like sequel to what's come before. It doesn't overstep.
Your favorite movie critic, Bob Chipman, said that this series had to be one of the ones that's had like the most success in terms of not just these recent movies, but like all the Planet of the Apes movies. Were like very few, he said, are truly duds. And
Yeah.
I would say like this movie is it's a solid addition to Planet of the Prepositions
The Planet of the Prepositions.
lists. Yes, it's of the three. So I didn't see the last one, but
What?
yeah,
You didn't see War?
I didn't see War.
Dude, it's so
I
good.
saw Rise and Dawn. I love Dawn. I would say this one's definitely like my least favorite.
This can't stand.
Yeah, but it's fresh enough. It's enjoyable enough. Solid monkey installment.
Solid Monkey installment. So this movie, one of the things that I think helps it work is that it is not like a sequel
Mhm.
to the Caesar,
No, time has passed.
stuff. I did read up a bit on it. Apparently, it's been 300 years,
Okay,
which is
it's a good amount of time.
it's a good amount of time. It's enough that you're like, how the fuck have these monkeys not figured out how to make guns?
The technology, I had to during watching this thing, I had to be like, okay, technology in real life was slower than we like.
1,000%.
Yeah, but
But
while you're watching, you're like, holy shit, this is
it's been long
not that
enough.
advanced. I mean, they had a running start. They had all
They,
our shit.
yeah,
Yeah,
they could have done something.
they should be further.
I mean, the last movie ends with like the monkeys using guns and shit.
So
So like they could have.
they've got
Granted,
bombs. Ew,
they know how to use it, but they
know
don't
how
know
to
how to
make it
make it.
right.
So there's that. Um, the other thing that I think is kind of nice about this movie is that like they could have gone and granted they still could go the oh this is your great grandfather Caesar,
Hmm.
and this movie does not allude to that. I feel
No,
at all is like this is just some random fucking monkey. By the way, we know these are not monkeys,
we know
but
they
it's
are
just
apes.
fucking funnier to call them monkeys
Yes, I think of all the things you could be anal about, the differentiation between monkey and ape
yeah
is the most annoying.
because saying monkeys is so fucking funny.
Yeah, I think it's less annoying to care about insects versus spider or arachnid than it is to be annoying about monkey the ape.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, the the main the main character in this is this young monkey named Noah. Which by the so like I don't know if this bothers you. I don't think it's a huge deal. And granted, maybe it hasn't been as long as like in the previous Planet of the Apes movies between like the downfall of humanity and like the rise of the apes. But like they still talk.
Talking is still laborious for them.
It's still yeah, like they can have fluid conversation,
Right.
but it's still like
Sign language is still a big part of their
yeah.
culture, which lets you know that like talking might still be the primary way of communication, but still is they're not proficient enough in it yet where they can just abandon everything else.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm going to pause for a second. We're back.
we're back.
Thano has a big railroad track next to his house,
Big
and
railroad track across the Burlington Northern Santa Fe.
sure.
The BNSF. Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. I am awful of that, by the way.
It's the only one I know. So you
By the way, I think this movie, the reason why it works for me is that yes, we are learning about brand new characters, but because you already know how like the ape culture works from the last movies,
hmm
it lets you connect with them very easily.
Mm,
I mean, like the fact that they use sign language is not, you're never like, how the fuck did these monkeys learn sign language?
right.
Uh, we talked about how it's still a struggle for them to speak fluently. I wonder if going down the line in sequels, if they do like time jumps, if that is something that's going to get more fluid. Because in like the original Planet of the Apes movies, and even like the Tim Burton one,
hmm
like those monkeys were talking.
They were
They
talking. They
were
were
talking
walking.
like humans, and they had posh accents in some of them.
Doctor Zayas. Doctor Zayas. Um, well, and they were walking like humans too. Like these apes are still walking like
Yeah, they still walk like apes.
still.
It's really funny to see like Noah be like, "I'm angry," and he's like, "Ooh ooh ah."
Yeah.
He walks like a swagger, and I'm like, "Oh, you can't be like angry monkey and then like waddle off."
It's hard to take serious. So when I was watching this movie, I was wondering how people who don't like animal violence in movies
Eh.
would be able to handle this.
And it's funny because like Katie's really bad at that,
Yeah.
and so like she did say like, "Hey, tell me how bad this is." But I think there's a separation because these monkeys are so human-like.
That's what I'm saying. They've been anthropomorphized enough,
Yeah, I think they. Yeah, for sure.
but
I think
surprisingly
it's
still ape.
yes.
Yeah.
And there's still something about them that like there's some like Proximus just looks like an asshole.
Yeah.
And like if you go back to like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, like Koba just looks
Looked like
like
an
an
asshole.
asshole.
Right.
And you have like the big gorilla in this movie.
Who looks like an
He just
asshole.
looks like a so they do a lot to like still give them a separate look.
Hmm.
And I don't know, this is like the racial equivalent of like having like a minority be the bad guy in your movie.
Yeah.
Where like I don't know. I don't know if that's how this is like the equivalent of that. But I mean they're still pretty good characters on their own though.
They're good characters. It's definitely the world of apes in the Bronze Age, right? Like it feels like it's just past their own version of Oonga Boonga time. Right.
They are, but it's also the reason for it is because they've learned to use humans for their benefit,
Yes.
right? Like they leave all the other humans who have gone back to Oonga Boonga time, and when they find a smart one, they go, we need to take them and essentially like exploit them for
They could teach us how to read this book.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how we get like William H. Macy, who's like the traitor, right?
Yeah.
Um,
The uncle, the uncle, whatever his name was.
what is his name? Oh man, when you said that, it took me a few seconds
More like a stupid name too.
to be like, what did you just say?
Right.
Uh, Trevathon,
Yeah.
Uncle Trevathon.
Uncle Trevathon.
Goddamn.
But
But like it does kind of you do get some of that. Like it makes sense why he would side with them because what's the alternative? Like he's alone.
he doesn't know how many non-Oonga Boonga people there are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's people like May who are not Oonga Boonga,
Yeah.
and clearly she has like a place where she comes from,
Right.
right? One of these vaults
In the
that
Fallout shelter.
in the Fallout shelter, and so like it seems like she keeps to herself a lot.
Hmm.
So like, and it makes sense because most of the people are, brain rotted essentially at this point. Um, I don't know. I just think it does a good job at balancing both the apes and the humans in this one. I know people complain that like it feels like she takes a little bit too much of the spotlight at the end, and
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but I just don't think it's as big of an issue.
So if I and we can revisit this whenever relevant. Um, I think my biggest issue with this movie, one, I wish it very much makes it seem like Noah and his companions are going to be like Harry, Ron, and Hermione at like the beginning, and then they just kind of fuck off after the deportation into Babylon. Uh,
God
um,
damn.
but then so with the character of May, I actually really like the ending. I find the ending very interesting, and I don't think the ending would work if you got more May backstory throughout. But like your May backstory is very much like condensed at the
Yeah,
end.
it does.
Yeah,
You do get essentially like an exposition dump.
where I was like, when I'm watching this, like, who are the other characters in this movie?
Yeah. And I think that's something that if they expand in the sequels,
Mhm.
I think it could then elevate this movie a little bit more. Because otherwise, then this really just does become like, well, this is an underdeveloped character that you have like skyrocketed to importance at the end for no reason.
Were you also really sus on her pants until it was revealed, like,
On her pants?
yeah, who she was when they're like, all the humans are stupid, and then you see some like stupid humans, and the apes talk about how they smell, and you're
Yeah.
like, why is this? Why are her pants so nice?
Okay, but like,
And then you realize why, because
but
she's
like,
not
okay,
dumb.
so it's a problem. It's the Abigail problem,
Yeah,
right? Where you go into this movie knowing that she's not an Oonga Boonga human.
yeah, yeah.
So like yeah, there's because somebody go. I read a fucking Reddit thing or a Facebook thing where they were like, oh, like of course woke Hollywood has this the hot woman
Uh,
look pretty with a nice shirt, nice pants. They're like she should be running around naked because she's a human, and I'm like,
did you watch the movie?
no,
Right.
like that's not what she is.
Yeah.
She's not like the other.
She's not like the other humans.
She's not like the other humans. She has the wherewithal to be like, I need clothes because clothes are an essential thing. So,
Dawn of the rise of the planet of the Pepper.
but anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought. But so let's move on to like the
The
spoilers.
plot. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about how May is not like a brain rotted person, so it doesn't make sense for her to walk around
Right.
like in
Naked.
the buff like all these other
Correct.
people, right? And also like it's a fucking movie, dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, just because you don't get to see her naked does not mean the movie's well.
Exactly.
People are dumb. Anyway, spoilers. What do you think about Proximus and like his overall goal?
It was funny while I was watching. Once I found out like what it was, I'm like, damn, it's taking them this long to open this goddamn vault. But
Those
I
vaults?
I like it, and I like how it's very. This movie does a good job of managing the stakes because you know the consequences of them unlocking this technology are eventually going to lead to like you know original Planet of the Apes. But your main threat in this movie is still small enough where it doesn't feel like it's Thanos level
Yeah, it's not
apocalypse.
world ending.
So I like the way they were able to balance the stakes. Like it's a contained enough story with stakes that don't destroy everything, but then stakes that you can see like ah are very have large implications for long term. And I think it does a good job of playing with like the Bronze Age. Like you got your God King seeking
Hmm.
like ancient knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So I gotta keep out of that. So I liked what Proximus was after.
Yeah, and there's something about him that he just like he's like this is what the humans did.
Hmm.
Like they built kingdoms. I want that.
And it's cool to see the irony of like how much we know about how shit actually went down, and how little the apes know about how like
Yeah.
shit actually went down.
And I mean, to a certain extent, some of these humans, like that is their leg up, right?
Hmm.
Like obviously the downside is that most of them are essentially like just just completely useless,
Yeah.
right? Like we have a scene where there is clearly like something not quite right. Like there's these animals drinking from the pond,
Hmm.
and the humans just walk up and just like
Hmm.
right? So like they're clearly not meant to survive in this environment.
Well, it reminds me anyway that our intelligence is really the only thing we have going for us because we're
A
like
thousand percent,
if
dude.
we were stupid too, like
And that's the thing.
over.
So like that's one of the things that I really have always appreciated about these movies is that they they kind of exploit that idea a lot because like in any other movie where you have a human going up against like a force of nature, you're like, ah, the human has wits.
Mm.
They will overcome this.
Mhm.
But now here you have a human with wit,
Yeah,
and now you have a monkey, a force of nature with wit.
yeah,
And holy shit, that makes it so much more like scary.
yeah, exactly.
It really does up those stakes, like you said, because like that scene where they're searching for her in the grass,
Right?
like it's so easy
You
for her to
know,
like grab a stick and be like, I'm gonna fool them by throwing the stick over there.
but you know, once they find her, that she's
Dude,
done now.
they are going to fuck her up if
Yeah.
they find her.
Yep.
And I mean, like you've seen what a chimp or gorilla
Yeah.
can do to a
Some
person.
of that episode of Oprah.
We saw that episode of Oprah. We've seen Nope. If you want to see a fictionalized version of that,
Yeah.
so like that'd be scary. Now add intelligence to that
Yeah, and purpose.
and
Ooh.
purpose and like malice. Like you're looking for a bad
Game
time.
game over.
Game over. So I think that that really does elevate that idea, and also her mind games that she does play with like Noah and Raka,
Hmm.
where she is trying really hard to kind of like convince him that she's also kind of stupid.
What did you think of the fact that Noah is pretty much once he finds out is pretty much butthurt about it the whole time?
Funny.
Yeah, because Raka is not, but Raka has wisdom, and
I
Noah
mean,
does not.
well, it's the idea that like it's kind of like the idea of like big mouse
Hmm.
like in the big city versus like country mouse,
Mm,
or like the city mouse, like he knows what's up
yeah,
and like he knows how the world actually works, and country mouse is like, no, but this is how my family and my papa and me might do this,
right,
right?
right.
And like so like that's why Rocka's like, yeah, there's a pretty good chance she could be smart,
Yeah,
and he's like, no.
but like but it's that. But then also the fact that he feels like betrayed, and he's like, "How could you lie to me?" And then it's like, well, clearly these like apes haven't developed the either the empathy or the wisdom enough to realize like, like other species like need survival mechanism.
Yeah,
And that's what I've always really loved about these movies is when did Rise come out? How soon after?
2014
Okay, so
maybe.
long enough after Avatar. I think Avatar one's biggest problem is that the Navi are by and large like too perfect. Like maybe Zoe Saldana's like brother's like a little angry, but
2011.
Avatar.
Fuck.
Oh yeah, okay. So it came out very soon after Avatar. All right.
Yeah.
So in Avatar, like the Navi, I think are too noble savage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, this was a utopia. Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked, right? But I think from the beginning, like these apes movies, especially once you get to Dawn, they're like, oh, these apes have flaws, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, yes, they're under human subjugation, right? But they have desires. They still sometimes lack wisdom. They're still sometimes too self-centered. Um, and that's the thing. They're becoming the new humans. So they take on all our flaws. And I think one of the most like satisfying things to me about like these movies is like seeing all the times the apes like fuck up or just wrong. And I'm like, you stupid.
You stupid monkey.
It's like, wait till you learn.
If you take all things into consideration,
Mhm.
like humans have had thousands of years
Yeah,
to like outgrow the Oonga Boonganess of their nature,
right,
right?
right.
And these monkeys have had
300.
300 years at best.
It's not a long time.
It's not a long time. I think they're doing pretty damn
They
good, all
are.
things considered,
They
right?
are.
Um, I don't know. There's something I like about this movie though, that it's like it's very simple.
Hmm.
It's like it is, but it also isn't like your hero's journey, because like there's never any like
I had just taught the hero's journey like the week or two leading up to this,
uh-huh.
and I was literally filling in the wheel in my mind as I was watching. So if you give me a part of the wheel, I can maybe find it.
So like isn't one of the parts of the wheel of the
Yeah.
hero's journey is like he kind of like refuses that call initially.
Ah, yes.
He is like, let's
There is
fucking
no
go.
very good. There is no clear refusal of the call. I would say that sometimes the refusal of the call can either come from the hero or it could come from somebody refusing to let the hero go. So it doesn't always have to come internally. But I was
Ooh.
looking, and there is no one who ever flat out like tries to get Noah to not go.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think everybody in this one is almost the opposite. Everybody's like, you should, like, you should, yeah, let's go.
Well,
Like they're encouraging him in his like endeavors.
and then I was thinking, well, what's the what's the point of that structural choice? And I think that just makes the call to adventure that much more necessary because there's no reason for refusal, right? We were reading Poodle, right? The original Cinderella.
Mhm.
And that one, there's no meeting the mentor. Like she gets the birds to help her, like, but there's no fairy godmother in the movie, right? So in that story, like, Poodle has to rely more on her like self and her innate goodness, right? So in
Mhm.
here, sometimes you leave elements out, then that points into the direction of a specific element of the journey that the author is trying to emphasize. So yeah, I noticed that and I was like, like this is a hyper necessary
Yeah.
adventure.
And but I really do like that, because sometimes it can feel like you're just being railroaded,
Yep.
and to a certain extent, like he is, right? Like at the beginning, the whole like inciting incident is like they're trying to do this ritual that like his village does. They go out, they go find an egg,
Yeah.
and then they bond with the bird.
Which side note, I liked how that was still grounded in realism. I was
Hmm.
like, do they fly these birds? Nope. They just like I forget it was I forget who said it. Screen Crush guy maybe. What's his name?
Ryan Airy.
Yeah, I think not Ryan Airy. Maybe it was Ryan Airy. Yeah. Or they're like, what's the point of the Eagles? Like, because they're fucking cool. I'm like,
You know, I
that's
have
good.
seen surprisingly little reviews about this movie.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if it was like a conscious thing. I saw maybe like Jeremy's review
Yeah.
and Dan's review, and I think that's it. So I haven't. I'll have to go look at that. But I mean, like eagles are fucking cool.
Eagles are
Like birds are cool.
yeah. But I did like how they were even in this like quote unquote like sci-fi fantasy world. Like the whole eagle thing is still yeah. They use them as pets. They train
They
them
use
to
them as
fly. Yeah.
pets. I'm assuming like we didn't get a lot of like
Sometimes they attack
detail.
and protect, but like
They attack and protect.
that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's more like they use the birds as like to help them like with hunting, probably.
Perhaps
We know that like his dad is probably
the
like the
keeper of the
chief,
birds. Yeah.
the keeper of the birds. Um,
He's an elder.
he's an elder. So I like the fact that like the movie gives you it makes it feel lived in.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like this shit was just like sprung up
Correct.
and we're just flying with the seat of our pants. Which in like Dawn, it makes sense that that's kind of how Caesar is running his thing because he's just like been
Started.
thrusted
Yep.
into this like leadership role for the apes, right? And here, like they have rituals that they do, they have a way to do things, they have their own like laws.
And then all that differs from like the neighboring clan that they
Yeah.
don't even know about. Right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
even Rock is like, "What's with the bird?" And he's like, "Oh, we bond
Yeah.
with birds." Like, why?
Yeah.
And in the same level, like he has no idea about like the teachings of Caesar
On that,
and what that
and they
means.
also don't even know about Proximus's clan, right? Proximus is kind of like he's the Aztecs, or he's like Babylon, or he's like the big ancient empire.
Yeah.
Like you got all these little guys, and you're like like
Hmm.
they think they're hot shit, but then Proximus will come and fuck you up.
Yeah, and that is also like a really cool thing that almost at first, like obviously the thing that would make sense is now the apes are the new like dominant race
Mhm.
in the world. But even he's like, "What the fuck is this?" When he sees them with like the masks,
Yeah.
and it's not until like he lives the magic he goes, "Oh shit, it's other apes,"
Right.
right? So like, it also shows you that like now this new, not even that, like a new race, but like this new culture
Hmm.
also feels lived in because they have their own way of doing. They have their own special weapons.
Some people
With
call humans echoes. Some people call them
yeah, call them
humans.
humans.
Yeah.
Some people, because I thought that was interesting
Mhm.
about how they kind of have that fear of them a little bit
Yes.
too. It's almost like a boogeyman, but you know they exist because
Correct.
they have this whole rule about not going into the valley because that's where the echo is,
Yeah.
right? I thought that was interesting, and that then makes it kind of meaningful for when Noah has to set out and go find them.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I gotta go into the valley now. We'll see what happens."
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I found interesting though is like the idea that like the bastardization of Caesar's words.
Mm. Well,
Um,
Caesar is Jesus,
Caesar
basically.
is Jesus.
Yeah.
It's this like you're yes, the teachings of Caesar are the grand scheme of things like a positive, right?
Right.
Like work together,
Apes
don't
together
kill
strong.
apes,
Yeah.
ape together strong. Like it's basically those two.
Yeah.
And with just those two mantras, holy
You
shit,
can
is
take that many
Proximus
different ways.
able to like just fuck everything up.
Yeah, he likes the apes together strong part.
He likes the apes together strong.
Mhm.
Not so much the ape don't kill ape. He plays fast and loose with that.
Here's this was partially a complaint upon my initial viewing, but I do wonder to what extent it's a bug or a feature. You don't get to see a lot of Proximus being full on dick, right? Like, yes, he's the villain,
Hmm.
but like I was half expecting to see like the Egyptian apes whipping them.
whipping whipping
Yeah,
the slave apes.
apes erecting, obelisks. And you're like, oh, look at this bondage. When you get there, like, yes, he uses them to like open the door, but like,
He's never like brutal.
no, they're just kind of there like the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
when they're not opening the door, they're just like chilling.
I think the most
Yeah.
we get is like deep into the third act when they open the vault and he like tells Noah, you either need to like choose the human or
Or choose the apes,
choose the apes, and he takes the ape hostage.
which is not
Checks
even
out.
is evil, but it's not like
It's not unreasonable,
correct.
and to a certain degree, like he's not wrong, and I think this is something that needs to be
Yeah,
explored in sequels because to a certain extent, May did play him.
yeah.
May May went into the vault for the sole purpose of we need to get whatever this little flash drive is.
For the humans.
We found out that it's like a satellite coordinate system
Mm,
to help them talk to each other, and now they're going to be able to coordinate.
yes.
So she could have been upfront with Noah and said, "This is something for me to talk to other humans,"
Yep.
but instead she chose to like hide that from him.
Yeah.
And then that to me leads into the okay, is this going to lead us into the humans are good guys, apes are going to become bad guys because Noah's going to be the new leader, and he is angry that she did betray him
Yeah.
because Proximus tells him multiple times humans cannot be trusted,
Yeah. And what does
and
she bring at the end?
consistently that is what she does.
Right?
She is she is breaking his trust.
Yeah.
So like, yes, I agree with you that like Noah is kind of salty throughout the movie.
Justifiably so.
But
But
it's
justifiably
yeah.
so. But justifiably so. I think so. Definitely back to Proximus real quick. I think the point when this villainy really is revealed is when he sees her shoot the other ape. And he's like, "Oh, you can go, but where can I get like
Where can I get more of
one of
those
those?"
boomsticks?
Yes, that's where it's like, okay, this is him. It is, and I think the movie is very sophisticated in that sense, where it doesn't delve too far into cliche. Right? He was never there was no Prince of Egypt music playing in the background, which would have been great, but there was not. There was no letting my people go.
Hey,
But
that's because that's DreamWorks and this is Disney.
yes, but that's where I thought that his villainy was really revealed. But then back to May, like at the end, she brings the gun to the parlay, right?
Yeah,
And like ready to potentially use it.
yeah.
So
So like
yeah,
it's sowing those seeds of like there is definitely like in a lesser movie, I feel like this would have ended with a hey, we're friends, we're gonna collaborate.
yeah,
And that feels like I don't want to say too hopeful because a lot of this franchise is built on a hope,
yeah,
right? Like you're hoping that like your monkey main characters are going to be fine,
right.
and they do always include like a human character, and you want them to do fine.
Hmm.
Where I feel like this movie doing that almost feels disingenuous,
Yeah,
and I do like that it's now prepping us for like in future installments. Like there is probably going to be big conflict between these two.
and yet I was really happy when they made contact with the satellite.
Yeah,
Even though I
yeah.
was like, how the fuck is this still? He's still working.
I mean, there is something scary about analog technology being as good as it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
That's one thing that I've always thought. I'm like, you can have a watch that's 100 years old,
and it's still ticking,
and as long as you keep that shit clean,
right? It's ticking.
bing, bang, boom.
We were talking today. We were talking about Walmart versus Target at lunch, and how Walmart has slightly increased while Target has slightly decreased.
For sure.
And my coworker was talking to me about how he made the worst purchase he's ever was at Target recently. He bought a scale
Oh,
because he's been running,
no.
and like immediately he started like using the scale, and the scale was just like wrong all over the
Oh
place on
no.
so many accounts. And he like took it back, and and I was like, I was even a bit of a Karen. I went to the poor teenager there. I was like, listen, you guys should not carry this scale. This scale is awful. But then he's like, I'm looking at all these scales. Like, I don't need this one that like tracks your data and sends it to whoever. I just want a normal
It's
scale.
no fucking skill,
But
man.
then he's like, but I wonder if like this is part of their like plan, or like they're just making the normal scale shitty, so you're forced to get like
The fancy
the
one.
bells and whistles
Yeah.
scales.
Yeah.
Yeah. So analog, old
Analog.
analog used to be something phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But so like leading, so now that we're at the end here, right?
Mhm.
So like, what is the path forward here? Like, where would you like to see this go? Do you really want to see a conflict between these two? Do you want a peaceful resolution,
Well,
which would make a boring movie?
I don't even know when I want this to go. Like TBH. I don't know if I want this to still follow Noah. I don't know if I want this to do another time jump or just like a setting jump. I don't know. I would eventually like to see us get to and then explore this iteration's own version of the Charlton Heston. Right, I'd like to get there, and I'd like to see how they do it.
Okay.
Um, but I don't know if that's movie number 7. I don't know if that's movie number
Yeah, I don't know.
8.
And it's a problem with having a good protagonist, I think,
Yeah,
which is it's a good problem to have. Where I'm like, I am invested in Noah.
I don't know to what extent I am, to be honest with you.
I think he's likable. There is
Eh,
something like
he's no Caesar.
he's no
He's
Caesar.
no Caesar. Yeah.
But to be fair, like Caesar grew up with a whole bunch of shit happening to
Mm-hmm.
him, whereas Noah, he hasn't
He's
had
had this
that.
weekend.
He's had a weekend
Yeah.
for sure. So I don't know. Like I think it could be interesting to still follow May and Noah,
Right.
but jump 20 years.
Yeah.
What is the effect now of having May contact the humans and now they are starting to rally? How are the apes going to react to what is essentially now like a new competitor, right? Because like for the longest time, the apes haven't had
Haven't had.
real
Yeah.
competition, right? Like yes, there's humans, some of them are smart,
They've been
but
the
they've been
alphas.
they've been spread out, right?
Right.
So now that they are congregating, are the apes going to be like, fuck, we can't just fuck around in our own little villages. We
Yeah.
need to we need to fully become like a unified planet.
And then the vault was flooded. I would like to see some consequence of like more technology and knowledge
Mm-hmm.
um entering into the apes world.
Even then, like if you think about what we saw in that vault,
Mhm.
water level was still very low,
Yeah.
and that vault went high.
Yeah, it was a
So
big
there is a
vault.
very good chance that the worst thing that got flooded there were maybe the tanks.
Yeah.
And I mean, in like a supply closet, there were AK-47s and some assault
Right.
rifle 15s.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
Something
that
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 works.
leaves stuff in there
Works.
that works.
Yeah.
And whether or not Noah is the type of leader who would destroy that
Mhm.
or would embrace it to protect his crew, I don't know.
Yeah. I I kind of want to see the darker Noah. I feel like if the dominoes are going to go the way that
It's almost
the
like follow
setup,
him become like the more like ruthless leader
yeah,
and
maybe,
may become more like the hero type of thing.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm that's probably like the biggest like thing that I have about it.
Whenever this is done, we got to sit through like a marathon of these movies.
I am still honestly, Thano, you and I have had 77 episodes of this show, and I think the most surprising thing to me is that you still have not seen War for the Planet of the Apes.
And I love Dawn. I don't remember
Dawn and War are what solidified that trilogy to me as probably one of my favorite trilogies ever.
when did War come out.
2017.
Okay,
So it was 2011, 2014, 2017.
I was after my first year teaching.
Yeah.
I don't know why I missed
I don't know. It's
War. Yeah, but
fantastic.
I missed War. Yeah.
It was great. One of the things that I find interesting though is so like when we look at the tomato meter and like how people are feeling about this,
69.
it's got 69% on like the top critics, so 55 reviews. But if you look at all critics,
Seven,
it I don't want to say skyrockets. I don't know what you would consider a
10%.
skyrocket, but it goes up to 80%.
I mean, I think 4 out of 5, which is what the star rating is currently like. saying for audience score is about. I think it's about right.
That's how you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's about a 4 out of 5 movie. I personally gave it 3.5, but I feel like half a star margin of error
Hmm.
is good. Yeah, I think it's an 80% movie.
I think it's a good movie. Um, is there room for improvement? Absolutely. But I
Hmm.
mean, if you look at the previous trilogy, the first movie is easily the weakest. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
Correct. I agree with
I
you.
recently
I agree with you.
revisited, not through like watching it, but like I've been watching like breakdowns of it, and I'm like, this is legitimately a very good intro into like the
Good start.
downfall of
Yeah.
humanity. Like all you can see how all the dominoes are laid
Right.
that will lead into
Right.
dawn and war.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's not as exciting.
Absolutely not. I mean, the most exciting thing that happens is Caesar yelling no at Draco Malfoy.
I think this movie is one that could potentially be made better when looked at its sequels, solely because um, I guess I still I get why some of the character beats are missing to keep some stuff a mystery, but I do wish it had more intercharacter bonding besides just like Noah and Raka. And I feel like the other movies have to introduce like more characters and make them react with each other.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more development for what are the names? Sula and
Anaya,
Anaya.
yeah,
Because like you said, they they are kind of gone
yeah,
for a good chunk of the movie. And you're just like, oh, they get set up at the beginning. It could have been interesting to have them go along with him
right.
and meet Raka,
Hmm.
and then have that expansion of like their knowledge a little bit. Um, because then you meet with them and like I mean Anaya, like he's not even like in the thick of it with everybody. He's like running errands for Proximus.
Well, because the movie does at the beginning set them up with personality differences, right? When they're looking for the egg, like Anaya's like, or one of them is like, "No, you take it, Noah." And Noah's like, "Oh, follow the rule."
Yeah,
And then like, "Oh, okay." Like they like these apes have nuance, right?
yeah.
And then I think there's rarely do I want to say I could have made a better version of this movie because I could not have. Um, I will say of my two big complaints, one not getting enough uh, May backstory, or two not getting enough other monkeys as friends. Um, I'll keep the May one as it is because I think dump loading her backstory at the end works. But I do wish I would. I think if there was a version of this movie that had Noah's two friends travel with him, I think it could have been a better version of this movie.
Yeah, I think so too. But honestly though, I think if those are like our chief complaints,
Yeah.
then I think this is a successful movie. It's making good money. Over the weekend, it's already made 131 million out of 160 budget.
Yeah.
Granted, only like 60 million is domestic,
Right.
um, which I thought was supposed to be higher, but given how cinema's kind of dead because theaters are training us to
How
kind of just
sad.
kill it.
What did we notice in the theater when we were like, ah, this is
Abigail, we were talking about
yeah,
Abigail last
Abigail.
week. That
Things are
Abigail
going
was two weeks.
direct to VOD in like 2 weeks after release.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
You know what's insane to me?
Hmm.
Late Night with the Devil
Yeah,
had
I
a
wanted to see that.
longer
Had a longer run
theatrical window.
than Abigail.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
and it's a fucking indie movie.
Is Abigail still in theaters? Or did
Abigail's still in
okay?
theaters, but I mean, after 2 weeks, it's already on VOD,
Yeah,
and something like that's pretty fucked. Fucking King Kong is barely hitting VOD, and that's been out since March.
that's crazy.
So, no respect,
No respect for
no
that.
respect. And
Okay,
then people wonder why cinema's dead.
it's a shame.
It's a shame.
Dead by our own hand.
Dead by own hand. So we actually have a treat for the listeners.
Yeah, something different.
Something different,
I like
something
that.
funny,
I like something different. It's
something
been
different.
funny.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
We will be talking about the roast.
Roast of one Thomas. I think his middle name's Edward. I don't know. Thomas Cornhole Brady.
Oh no. So we'll be back with that. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you share with friends,
Yeah.
spread the love,
Spread the monkey.
spread the monkey,
Uh,
the hot
Hot
monkey
Monkey
spring.
Spring, baby. It's
Hell
here.
yeah, baby doll. All
Yeah.
right, everybody, we will be back later. He has been
He
Thano.
has been Javier.
This has been the Cine-Scoots Movie Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.